Lucid Dreamers. Welcome back. We're here for week 2 of Creative Recovery, the Artist's Way. It's been an amazing journey so far, and we're only on week 2 of 12, so let's keep going. This week has been a very interesting one, to say the least. I'm not gonna lie to you. The preface of this week was recovering a sense of identity, right? This week addresses self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries and staking out new territories as your personal needs, desires, and interests announce themselves. The essays and tools are aimed at moving into your personal identity, a self-defined you, right? So we're trying to move ourselves into our own personal identity, right? And I thought what that meant was, okay, when I turn the page, I'm gonna be met with ways of visualizing your higher self, right? Like exercises that help me connect to defining who I am, maybe having to write out like, this is who I am, or connecting back to who I was as a child, in my purest form before I let my inhibitions get the better of me, and all these different things before I put restraints on myself. And what I was met with was very different to how I thought the path was gonna go. Because Julia didn't focus on, let's look at ourselves. She focused on, let's look out of ourselves, which I thought was really beautiful. And it came at a time when I really needed it. This past week has been really hectic. And, I always try, or I told myself I'm always gonna try read the chapter of the book on the last day of the previous week or the first day of this week, so that the lessons that the chapter holds get to digest throughout the week, and I have time to do all the exercises and everything that comes with it. But I wasn't able to because of the type of week I've been having, right? Like not sleeping at 3 a.m. maybe, really, really deep stuff, because I've been focusing so much on proving myself to everybody, man. Like I am worthy of the things that I want. I do deserve this, that, and the third. I am the person that I know I am. Just see it. Just come on. I've been trying to prove myself so much to everybody, and this chapter focused on two things. It's poetic sometimes, the way life happens, right? This chapter came at a time that I really needed it. And she focused on two things. The first thing being, identify people in your life that throw you off balance. I forgot what she calls them. She calls them something like crazy people, something like that, like crazy makers. She calls them crazy makers, which is ironic, because the first part of this book is going from being insane to going sane. So you yourself are going insane, and she states it feels like going insane a lot of the time, right? And when you go insane, when you are going sane, you need to identify poisonous playmates. I thought that was pretty interesting. Who are the people who are in your life throwing you off balance, who create discord and chaos in your life and shake you up, to the point where you're overthinking, overstressing every move you make. You're afraid to do things, or you're walking on glass all the time. Who are the people who are making you feel that way? And it made me do an audit of the people that are in my life right now and really appreciate the friendships that I have, man. I think, and when I say friendships, I mean both with my chosen family and my blood family. Because just because you're blood doesn't mean you're friends. You're family, but it doesn't mean you're friends. So all the people that I call friend in this world, I took time to do an audit of who the people in my life right now, and just appreciating how much they bring me back to me, and just taking into account as well the people who don't do that, and making decisions on how I'm going to interact with those people. Like, to what extent, how much can I play with that relationship in terms of keeping an arm's length, or controlling the amount of time that we see each other if possible. Are there people in my life that I need to completely like separate myself from, and I don't think there are any bad people in my life, but I have been in situations where the people in my life are steering me off my God-given path. And so, it's great. It's great talking to you. You are a beautiful human being, but I need to make sure that I'm still doing what God has called me to do. So doing that audit has been incredible. And then the second thing that I really love that she spoke about was paying attention to our surroundings. You know, she spoke about how in her life she's noticed that when she's going through a really hard time, she's anxious about what will happen in the future, and she won't always be looking fondly at the past. But what is happening right now in this moment? How does it feel for me to be sitting in this chair right now? What is the texture of my beanie? The colors that are around me right now. What can I see? What can I smell? What can I hear when I close my eyes and I listen carefully? Like, what is there? And how is that defining this moment right now? I feel like we're always super focused on sitting here, I'm taking a video, that I'm not paying attention to the way the lights are moving. They're dancing on the ceiling. And the way the black doesn't look as black because of the red shining off of it. The smell of the new book that's in front of me. All these little things. And I loved that because I feel like I was more attentive growing up. And so when people say live in the moment, they mean that, right? Like, surely. And when you're present, you're in the act of being, right? When you remove the people in your life that throw you off balance and you allow yourself space and time and clarity to be, that's how you identify who you are. I finished this chapter in one sitting. I think it was like 2 a.m. And I went from feeling like I was on some crazy roller coaster to feeling so well rooted in my identity, confident in who I am. And to cap it off, bless little sis heart, Clarissa invited me to this young adults worship night, right? I'd been contemplating the whole week, am I gonna go, am I not gonna go, the week I was having. And then on the day, it happened yesterday, Friday, on the day, I think around midday, I said, I've been fighting the whole week. Like, something is telling me, like, I need to go. And whereas I thought it was just gonna be a time of praise and worship, it ended up being praise and worship and then a sermon. And in the sermon, the pastor spoke about value and authority, and how what we place our value on determines the level of authority it has over our lives, right? And as he's speaking, I can feel I'm already being moved, like mentally and spiritually, right? And he goes on to talk about, sometimes we place so much value and authority over the things God gives us that we take away authority and value on our relationship with him. Now I'm doing audits in my brain. Now I'm thinking back like, oh man, I'm fighting for things that God gave me. And does it reflect, is it to a degree that respects the level of authority that God has in my own life? Yeah. And then he goes on to say we spend so much time in this world fighting for the validation of other people, trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove our own value to the world, when God has already placed so much value on us. He's telling us to be careful about where we place our value, God, but he values us so much. Everything that he's done for us, he values us so much. Why would I need to prove myself to mere mortals, to human beings? I don't need to do that. God is telling me, and I love this. This is what he said. He said, God is saying, stop reaching for the value and simply receive it. And that was the final, that was the final thing that I feel like I went there to hear almost, yeah? That was the message that was intended for me in that moment, because here I was the whole week, found for my life, trying to prove myself. Like, I know, I'm telling you, I'm that person I say I am. I can do the things I say I can do. I'm worthy of this, I'm worthy of that. When I simply need to be confident in knowing that God values me enough, that He has already appointed me work in this world, and the tools that I need to complete that work will simply come to me. And not that I can sit back and just, no, but that I can be confident in the spirit of what it is. I love the Michelangelo painting of God and Adam, where God has his finger fully reached out, and all we need to do is, and Adam has his almost like it's limp, right? And all he has to do is like reach out back towards God, and now it's 50-50. It's 100%, 100%. I just need to make sure I'm doing that at all times. I think it was incredible that in a week where I was supposed to define my own self-identity, I found it through connecting with the great creator. Yeah. And so, going back to everything that I was supposed to do this week, how many days this week did you do your morning pages? It's supposed to be 7. I did 6. Like I said, I didn't sleep some nights. Julie, you're gonna have to forgive me. It did start feeling redundant. I think that might have been the lack of sleep talking though. But I still value them so much, and I can see how they're changing me and moving me in every day. Did you do your artist date this week? My artist date this week, I did it today. It felt really incredible, I'm not gonna lie. I did something that I always used to do again. Like, I went back into the archives to pick out my artist date again today. And what I did is, I remember that one of my favorite things to do is to just lie on the ground and look at the sky. I just love doing that. I think the sky is so beautiful. And I realized today looking at the sky, and I always realize it looking at the sky, is that I love watching the sky because it feels like I'm watching God paint in real time. A painting that has never been shown before and will never be shown again. Especially on a cloudy day is when I love going out to look at the sky, because that cloud's never been there before, and the wind's already moving it and distorting it. And, even if I blink, I missed it. I will never get to see the sky the way I saw it today. It was so beautiful. I went to the botanical gardens. The botanical gardens were so beautiful. I walked around a little bit first. It was so peaceful, and I felt like I could be still and be present and pay attention to everything. The grass, the insects, the sound of the birds and the ducks, the flowers around me, the smells, the colors, and of course the sky. And just getting to sit there, lie there, and just look up, and I took my book with me, and that's where I was able to finish the rest of my stuff that I was supposed to do this week. So the first thing I had to do all week was affirmative reading. And that was basically going back and reading the affirmations that were already in the book in page 3. Really great affirmations, connecting me back to creativity, to the source of creativity, reminding me that it doesn't come from me, it comes from God. I love that so much. Listing 5 major activities that I did and noting how much time this past week, where my time was going, taking inventory of where I'm spending my time. 20 things that I enjoyed doing. I loved doing that. One of the things I wrote was watching the sky, which is why I ended up making that my artist day, because I remembered, man, I really love watching the sky. And I had to list 2 things that I've been avoiding and then try to do it and then try to do them. I had to go back to week 1 and the affirmations that I wrote last week, go back and read them and read them. And every single time I did my morning pages, list down 3 of them. That was also really good at, like, helping them sink in. I had to make 5 more like imaginary lives of things that I would do. I chose florist, pilot, a digital nomad influencer. I love traveling so much. If I could just get paid to travel, that would be amazing. An animator and a world-renowned magician, which is crazy because I did an archetype test after I wrote that down, and it told me my archetype was the magician. I thought that was crazy. And then I had to do a life pie. Draw a circle divided into 6 pieces of pie, and then name the different pieces and how I'm spending my time, how much I feel fulfilled in each of these different slices of my life. And when I look at it, I can see where I'm lopsided, where I am feeling fulfilled, what I need to work on. I think that was a really great task to do. And then the last thing to do was write 10 tiny changes. So what are 10 things that I want to do, big or small? List 10. Then I had to choose one, and then I had to do it. And what I did was I visited a close friend that I haven't seen in a very long time. He got a new place. I made sure I went there and I just saw my boy, and it was great. I can tell that the more I fill my own cup, the more willing I am to fill the cups of those around me. And I feel like that's one of the main goals of doing this and learning to set boundaries and finding myself and my creativity again. Giving myself the space to be me so that when I meet other people in the world, I don't feel empty when I'm doing that. But yeah, so far so good. Again, I'm loving this journey. I'm loving it so much. I'm so excited for next week. Next week is recovering a sense of power. This week may find you dealing with unaccustomed bursts of energy and sharp peaks of anger, joy, and grief. You are coming into your own power as the illusory hold of your previously accepted limits is shaken. You will be asked to consciously experiment with spiritual open-mindedness. That sounds interesting. I don't want to guess where this is going because I was completely wrong last time. So, till we meet again, stay blessed. Peace.